Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the future radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Monday, August 16th, 2021, and we are live. We're halfway through the month of August. It's been a very, very busy day today. Had to teach an online class before coming on the air today. So we have a lot to talk about. We had a great show Sunday. I'm almost finished editing. I'm finished editing Sunday's show. We're going to rebroadcast that. We rebroadcast these shows throughout the day on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. All right, so on today's show, we've been talking about the initial results of the 2020 census. The initial results came out on Thursday, August 12th. And we've been going through discussing the decrease in the white population for the first time since 1790. And the white population overall dropped 2.6%, dropped down to 191.7 million. It dropped by 5.6 million. First time the white population has dropped since the census was first taken in 1790. So there's information also coming out about the numbers in Detroit. And the African-American population in Detroit has dropped from the 2010 census, but the African-American population in certain suburbs has grown dramatically. We'll talk a little bit about that today. Detroit.com has some information on that, as well as the Detroit News. We'll discuss that. And then there was a piece that I wanted to talk about on Sunday's show, and we did not get a chance to get to it. This is from the Associated Press. It deals with 5 takeaways from the 2020 census. 5 takeaways from the 2020 census data. Okay, so we'll talk about that as well. And on yesterday's show, one of the things I talked about is how the census data is also tied to congressional districts, representation in the House of Representatives, as well as the Electoral College. How many seats in how many Electoral College votes states have? That's all tied to the census. The census also deals with the reallocation or redistribution of $1.5 trillion in resources as well. So the census is extremely, extremely crucial. Okay, so we'll talk about that. And then we know that coronavirus is surging. Over the U.S. is averaging over 110,000 new cases per day. But COVID-19 hospitalizations for Americans in their 30s has hit an all-time high. The Huffington Post has a article dealing with this, and I've been seeing information dealing with how the Delta variant is really hitting people in their 30s and 40s and causing many of them to be hospitalized. So COVID-19 hospitalizations for Americans in their 30s has hit an all-time high. And then I've been looking at, so in the South, we know it's back to school time for a lot of states. Florida went back to school. Georgia's back to school. So I've been monitoring some of these things. We know in Florida, I think it's hundreds of students had to be quarantined, sent home to quarantine because of a COVID outbreak. But I'm looking at this piece here from Fortune.com dealing with Atlanta. 2 weeks after opening, Atlanta schools report 4,000 COVID-19 cases. 2 weeks after opening, Atlanta schools, which is in Georgia. Now, Georgia has this dumbass governor, Brian Kemp, Republican, Trump supporter, who stole the gubernatorial election from Stacey Abrams in 2018. Just remember, this election has consequences. When you have idiots in elected office, people die. when you have idiots and elected off, when you have people, dumbasses as president, governor, things like this, people die. Okay. So 2 weeks after opening, Atlanta schools report 4,000 COVID-19 cases. Now, if we look at this here, if we look at this article, let me scroll down here just a second. All right. Where is this here? Okay. If we look at this here from fortune.com, schools open in Atlanta metro area on August 2nd. August 2nd. And that was a Monday. Now, just 2 weeks later, the number of COVID-19 cases among students and faculty has exploded to nearly 4,000. Faculty and nearly 4,000 cases. The startling numbers gathered by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution show just how rapidly the virus is spreading in the state of Georgia, where you have an idiot as governor. And administrators are quickly rethinking their plans, with 10 districts suspending in-person learning already. Now, the changes come so fast that some teachers aren't conducting live online classes, instead only posting assignments for children to complete. Statewide, 1.7 million students attend public schools in Georgia. Despite the growing numbers, many parents in affected districts are still voicing opposition to mask requirements for school children, defying a growing national trend. See monkey do. Okay, let me just continue. Fulton County, where Atlanta is making masks optional, but Atlanta public schools are requiring masks. See, this is what happens when you have poor leadership. They should have mask mandates in Georgia. It's when you got dumbasses like Trump supporters in Georgia. You have to have mask mandates. So you have teachers, you have parents at voicing opposition to mask requirements. If you don't want your children to wear a mask in class to protect themselves and other children and teachers and staff, so you don't take coronavirus home and kill people, keep your damn children at home then. If it means so much to you, keep those little children at home if you don't want them to wear a mask, because your dumb ass is going to get people killed. That's just the bottom line. Atlanta schools have been open for 2 weeks, and you already got 4,000 cases of coronavirus? Come on. So, I'm sitting here, I'm like, come on, you can't be this stupid, but apparently they are. All right, you can't be this stupid, but apparently they are. Okay, so let's continue here. So we'll talk about that. Then I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. Okay, and we spoke with Dr. Alexia Gaffney, okay, who is a virologist. I think she's a virologist, but she was giving a lot of good information about coronavirus, okay, and the Delta variant. I'm going to share an excerpt of that interview also. All right, now, so we'll talk about that. We'll also give an update on Haiti. We know Haiti suffered from a 7.2 magnitude earthquake on Saturday. It's more than 1,300 who have been reported dead. And at the same time, Haiti is bracing for Tropical Storm Grace that is hitting Haiti as well. Okay, so we'll give you a brief update on what's taking place there also. All right, now on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we do it a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history, politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, love, sex, health issues, relationships, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can still register for the new 10-week online course I teach on Saturdays. We had a great class this past Saturday, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Okay, we deal with approximately 100 years of a little more than 100 years of history, and deal with history right after the Civil War ended, and the last year of the Civil War, and right after the Civil War ended. And we go through and analyze a 10-year period of history, each class, to understand what happened to us, what happened after the Civil War ended, what were the laws and policies that put in place, how we got into this predicament we are in now, to understand where we need to go from here. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We do the classes live. All of the sessions are recorded. As soon as you register, you can watch this past Saturday's class, and you can watch classes 1 through 4 as soon as you register. And this is a fantastic class. You can watch from around the world. Even after the class is over with, you'll still have access to the course. You can still watch it. Click on register here, and then click on enroll. Class is regularly $130, on sale $80. All right, that's at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and we'll post a link here as well. Okay, let's jump in. I want to jump into this first story here, dealing with African-American population in Detroit. When we look at the census numbers, the African-American population in Detroit has declined. Deadline.com has a good article that they about this. They picked it up from the Detroit News. Black population drops in Detroit and grows dramatically in suburbs. Now, while Detroit and Michigan's African-American population declined in the past decade, the latest U.S. Census number shows that African-American residents have become a majority in 2 more Detroit suburbs, the Detroit Free Press reports. Now, the rapid growth of African-American residents in the Wayne County community of Harper Woods, and Wayne County is also the county that Detroit is in. The rapid growth of African-American residents in the Wayne County community of Harper Woods, as well as the Macomb County community of East Point, helped fuel this change. More African-Americans also moved into other suburbs, including nearby Warren, Michigan, the state's 3rd largest city. We're going to continue this on the other side of the break. We'll also deal with 5 takeaways from the 2020 census. We'll look at some nationwide trends. The country is becoming more diverse. Also, we see a decline in children being born as well. The U.S. is becoming more urban. Rapid growth in unexpected places. Also, we see losses in Puerto Rico and in West Virginia. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. We'll give you an update on what's going on in Haiti as well. And we'll talk about why COVID-19 hospitalizations for Americans in their 30s has hit an all-time high. You listen to the African History Network show, 9:10 a.m. Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Infused with racism made us. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you control the compass of his or her actions because the mind can't do
back from breaking 1 minute.
No. We have it all on 910 AM Superstation. For 910.
Okay. We got Diana, Judy, Becky, Induka, Robert, John Ray.
910, the Superstation, Detroit's only African-American talk radio.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Monday, August 16th, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. Calling number is 313-778-7600 is the calling number. If you have a question or comment, 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. All right. Okay. So right before the break, we continuing our discussion from we talked about this Thursday show when the numbers came out dealing with the census. Also on Friday's show, I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. I think we talked about I can't remember if we talked about this on Friday. Roland Martin Unfiltered. But I did Roland show for 2 hours Friday, then we did this show Friday night. But we talked about this on our Sunday show because we were on Sunday for 2 hours, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So go back and watch the Sunday show, and we'll be re-airing it because I just finished editing the show. It took me a long time. I spent most of today editing yesterday's show. All right. And it'll be an audio podcast format Monday morning also, or Tuesday morning. Okay. So if you go back to this piece here from DeadlineDetroit.com, Black population drops in Detroit and grows dramatically in certain suburbs. Now, more African Americans also moved into other suburbs, including nearby Warren, Michigan, the state's third largest city. Now, much of this is due to African Americans in Detroit moving to suburban communities with affordable housing and good schools, said Kurt Metzger, a demographer who is Pleasant Ridge's mayor. Pleasant Ridge is a little suburb of Detroit. The quote, here we have communities that border the city and which saw large numbers of African Americans moving in the last decade, when more than 180,000 plus African Americans left the city of Detroit. Okay. And a lot of this has to do with gentrification in the city of Detroit, rent increasing, especially in downtown Detroit, rent increasing, property values and the cost of homes, things like this increasing, and people moving to nearby suburbs for better school districts and more affordable housing. Now, they have found, Kurt Metzger went on to say, they have found the suburbs to be welcoming and have continued to move in. Now, the census showed that the African American population grew 58% from 2010 to 2020 in Harper Woods, Michigan, another city outside of Detroit, the suburbs, Harper Woods, Michigan, and 89% in East Point. East Point is on the other side of 8 Mile Road, East Point, Michigan. The Free Press reports. Now, East Point is interesting because East Point used to be called East Detroit. They changed their name back in like 1989, something like that, because they didn't want to have anything to do with the city of Detroit East Point used to be called East Detroit. All right. They was totally separate city. They changed their name to East Point because they did not want to be associated with the city of Detroit. And then, then black people from Detroit moved out to East Point. So, okay. So, African Americans comprise 66% of Harperwood's population in 2020, up from 45.6% in 2010. And East Point is about 53% African American. That's funny because 30 years ago, East Detroit changed their name to East Point because they ain't want to have nothing to do with Detroit. Now look who's out there. Okay, guess who's coming to dinner? I wonder if they're barbecuing on the front porch. But anyway, so East Point is about 53% African American, up from 29.5% in 10 years ago. 10 years ago, East Point, that 30 years ago changed their name from East Detroit because it was a predominantly white suburb and they didn't want to have nothing to do with the city of Detroit. 10 years ago, East Point was 29.5% African American. Now they're majority African American, 53%. Okay. Now the number of African Americans in Detroit went from 82.2% of the population in 2010 down to 77.2% of the population in 2020, while the white, Asian, and Hispanic populations grew. And people, we saw that coming because this is what I warned people about. I told y'all back in like 2013, if Mike Duggan became mayor, I told you gentrification was going to accelerate in the city of Detroit and African Americans were going to be pushed out. And I was correct. Now, suburbs that were already majority African American before the census include Southfield, Michigan, and Oak Park. Check out this piece here from Deadline, Detroit.com. Black population drops in Detroit and grows dramatically in certain suburbs. This is from August 16th, 2021. Deadline, Detroit.com. They picked this up from the Detroit Free Press. So we'll post this link here. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Now, I wanted to look at this piece. I wanted to talk about this Sunday, but we had so much to discuss on Sunday's show. Associated Press has a good piece. 5 takeaways from the release of 2020 census data. 5 takeaways from the release of 2020 census data. And this gives us this information in a snapshot. We're going to go to clip 1 here in just a second, Shakita. So cue that up from Roland Martin Unfiltered, please. And you know, the main article we talked about dealing with the census is from the Washington Post. So a really good piece here. Census data shows widening diversity. Number of white people decline for first time. So read this piece here from the Washington Post. This is from August 12th, 2021. Census data shows widening diversity. Number of white people falls for first time. But if we look at where is that here? Let me pull this up from Associated Press. 5 takeaways from the release of the 2020 census. The white population declined for the first time on record. Now, the Census Bureau Thursday issued this long-awaited portrait of how the U.S. has changed. And let me see why this isn't coming up. Just a second. Okay. So they released this on August 12th. And the number one takeaway that they show is that the white population declined for the first time on record. Okay, here, this is what I want right here. As U.S. head count has been carried out every decade since 1790. So the first census was taken. The first census was taken in 1790. as U.S. headcount has been carried out every decade since 1790, and this was the first one in which the non-Hispanic white population nationwide got smaller, shrinking from 196 million in 2010 to 191 million in 2020. And we're going to blow this up here so you can see this. Let's flip over to this here. It wasn't coming up properly from the Associated Press. This is from Cox.com, C-O-X, Cox.com. They picked it up from the Associated Press. Now, one of the things that's really important to understand, and not a lot of people know this, is that the data from the census will also shape how $1.5 trillion in federal spending is allocated. Okay, just saying, we lost our connection to the station. Let me reconnect. Stand by. Yeah, this is Michael. We lost our connection. This is Michael. Okay. All right, we're back. Skype dropped the call here. Okay. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is that the data from the census is used to reallocate $1.5 trillion in federal spending. Okay. That comes from the census. Now, we see that the head count has been carried out every decade since 1790. The census has been taken since 1790, when the first census happened. And the white population dropped from 196 million in 2010 down to 191 million. It's the first time the overall number of white people dropped in the history of the census. The data also showed that the share of the white population fell from 63.7% in 2010 to 57.8% in 2020. Okay, now the people who identify as a race other than white, black, Asian American, Native American, Native Hawaiian, or Pacific Islander, either alone or in combination with one of those races, jumped to 49.9 million people, surpassing the African American population, which is at 46.9 million people. Okay. And people, and these are those that identify as multiracial. Okay. We saw those who identify as biracial or multiracial increase also. The African American population increased 6% up to 46.9 million. Now, the U.S. is becoming more urban also. Almost all of the growth of the past 10 years happened in metropolitan areas. Almost all the growth in the past 10 years happened in metropolitan areas. More people in smaller counties moved to larger counties. More people in smaller counties moved to larger counties. Around 80% of metropolitan areas saw population gains, while less than half of the smaller or so-called micropolitan areas saw population gains. Phoenix, Arizona was the city with the fastest growing population of the nation's top 10 cities. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix moved from 6th place to 5th place, trading places with Philadelphia, which is now the nation's 6th largest city. The census numbers also show a decline in children, and the share of children in the U.S. declined because of falling birth rates, while it grew for adults, driven by aging baby boomers. Adults over 18 years old made up more than 3/4 of the population in 2020. Adults over age 18 made up more than 3/4 of the U.S. population in 2020, or 258 million people, which was an increase of more than 10% from 2010. However, the population of children under 18 dropped from 74 million in 2010 down to 73 million in 2020. a decrease of 1.4%. Now, we also know that in June of 2018, the U.S. Census released a memo that talked about how white people had a negative birth rate in 26 states out of 50. 26 states out of 50. This was in June of 2018. New York Times has an article dealing with this that talks about more deaths than births. Okay, more deaths than births. And they attributed that a lot to the opioid crisis. And what that memo from the Census Bureau said was that 2 years prior, the white people had a negative birth rate in 17 states out of 50. And then in 2018, it was 26 states out of 50. Okay. And all this is leading towards the year 2045, when white people will no longer be the majority population in this country. You have some people who are scared to death of this. For other people, for some white people, this is not a problem. For others, they're pushing the big lie in state legislatures, trying to maintain power. Okay, trying to pass these voter restriction bills, especially in places like Texas, because Texas is 83% non-white, which kind of makes sense because Texas used to be part of Mexico. If you understand the history of Texas, Texas used to be part of Mexico, and then Texas came into the Union in 1845 as a slaveholding state. Imagine that. But, go back, it was, what was it, May, when I dealt with, I did a show dealing with slavery in the Mexican-American War of 1846 to 1848, and how Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, California, Utah, and Nevada came to be part of the Union because that was all Mexican territory. And Europeans wanted to take over the entire North American continent. And the Mexican-American War came about because of a territorial dispute. Okay, go back and watch that show. We'll maybe talk about that again soon, because with Texas trying to suppress the teaching of slavery in schools in Texas, is like, well, wait a second, you came into the Union as a slaveholding state. You ashamed of that now? Your Texas state constitution, 1876, had the purity of the ballot box clause because you didn't want black people voting. So you all of a sudden you all ashamed of that now? You don't want nobody. You don't want anybody to know about that. Is that what you're trying to? Is that what you're trying to tell me? You don't want anybody to know about that? Skyrocketing Hispanic and Asian growth is something that we also saw. The nation's 7.4% growth rate over the decade, the smallest since the Great Depression. So the overall population of the U.S. grew by 7.4% over 2010. That's the smallest growth since the Great Depression of the 1930s, which makes sense. Largely propelled by a Hispanic Latino boom. The Hispanic population grew by almost a quarter over the decade from 2010 to 2020. By comparison, the non-Hispanic growth was 4.3%. Hispanic Latino stood at 62.1 million residents in 2020, or 18.7% of the U.S. population, up from 16.3% of the U.S. population. African Americans are at 12.1%, pretty much staying steady at 12.1%, but our overall population increased by 6%. Read the rest of this here at cox.com, cox.com. Explainer 5 takeaways from the release of 2020 census. Okay, this was originally picked up by Associated Press. Well, that originally came from the Associated Press. Okay, you'll hear more about the census numbers. You'll hear more panic. You'll hear more fear of the browning of America, the fear of a black planet. You're going to hear a lot more of that as well. All right. COVID-19 cases. We're seeing an explosion of hospitalizations for Americans in their 30s. It's hitting an all-time high. Okay. Now, when I do these stories, I ain't trying to scare anybody. We deal with informing people. Proper documentation ends all conversation. We're not trying to scare anybody. But when you have school children, 4,000 cases between children and staff in Atlanta schools in 2 weeks. We're going to go back to that story in just a minute. Because see, this is what I've been saying. This stuff, I said this, I think it was Friday, either last Friday or Friday before last on Roland Martin Unfiltered. This stuff is about to explode. Because if the cases of COVID-19 were already exploding before children went to school, and you were already at about 120, 130,000 new cases, depending upon which week, wait till they go back to school. And you got adults and children, and you got idiots like Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida and Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia and Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, who are against mask mandates in schools. Wait till these children go there, and you're going to have an explosion. These schools are going to become super spreaders. This is what's going to take place. And now we're seeing hospitals being overran. Now we're seeing in certain states, in certain counties, they have to turn away people who want surgery, turn away people who want elective surgery. Okay, this is, and when you have idiots in elected office, people die. This is an example of how elections have consequences. So if we look at this piece here from Huffington Post, okay, Huffington Post has an article, COVID-19 hospitalizations for Americans in their 30s hits an all-time high. Let me pull this up here. And we're going to go to that clip in just a second, Shakita. So this is from August 15th, 2021. August 15th, 2021. Let me pull this up here on the big screen. So COVID-19 hospitalizations for people in their 30s has reached a record high in the U.S. in the latest evidence that the dangerous Delta variant of the disease poses formidable risks for younger age groups. Now, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention reported a total of 170,082 hospital admissions of those aged 30 to 39 for the beginning of August 2020 to last Wednesday. The number of daily admissions based on a 7-day average jumped from 908 the week beginning July 29th to 1,113 the week starting August 15th. That's a 22.6% bounce. So the number of daily admissions based on a 7-day average went from 908 the week beginning July 29th to 1,113 hospital admissions the week starting August 5th. Okay, that's a 22.6% increase, and it's still climbing. Now, hospitalizations for children suffering from COVID-19 also hit a record high with 1,902 children in hospitals across the nation on Saturday, August 14th, according to data from the Department of Health and Human Services. Reuters.com reported. This is hospitalizations for children suffering from COVID-19. Now, children currently account for about 2.4% of all COVID hospitalizations in the U.S. Not only are more children being affected in this wave of the disease, but they're experiencing more serious symptoms. They're experiencing more serious symptoms, according to several reports. Children under 12 are not yet eligible for vaccinations, making them more vulnerable to the illness. Then you got idiotic governors that won't do the right thing and impose mask mandates, which puts children in jeopardy. The children take it back home to their parents. They take it home to their grandparents. Okay, they take it back home to their brothers and sisters. And what happens? Schools become a super spreader facility. Now, Sally Goza, former president of the American Academy of Pediatrics, said, this is not last year's COVID. This is not last year's COVID. This one is worse, and our children are the ones that are going to be affected by it the most. Now, despite the terrifying new risks to children, a number of dumbass Republican governors and state legislatures are banning mask mandates at schools, because governors like Ron DeSantis wants to run for president and he wants to appeal to idiotic Trump voters, but he don't realize it's going to be less Trump voters. to vote for you because they're dying of COVID because you're too stupid to tell them to wear a mask. And state legislatures are banning mask mandates at schools and refusing to promote vaccinations to the adults who surround them, even though their Lord and Savior Donald Trump got vaccinated. Which don't even, your Lord and Savior Donald Trump got vaccinated, but you won't. Now, personally, I hope you don't, but I'm just saying, I'm just saying, wait a second, your Lord and Savior Donald Trump got vaccinated, but you won't. Okay? Now, and then, you're not even going to try to preserve your life and wear a mask. Okay? And preserve the lives of those around you. All right? Now, if you're that dumb, well, that's on you. I'm just saying, that don't even make sense. Now, the new clearly susceptible age groups represent a major change from the first wave of the pandemic, when the elderly were by far the hardest hit by COVID. That may have given those in their 30s a false sense of security and a relaxed attitude about safety precautions like wearing masks and maintaining social distancing. Okay, read the rest of this article here from Huffington Post, and we see that where we at? 100 new infections in the nation are surpassing 123,000 each day. So we have 123,000, over 123,000 new cases of coronavirus each day, based on a 7-day average, according to Johns Hopkins University. Okay, so check this out, and let's see. The 7-day average of daily COVID deaths in the U.S. reached 645 on Friday, almost doubling in 2 weeks to hit the highest point since May of 2021, Bloomberg reported. Read this piece here from Huffington Post. COVID-19 hospitalizations for Americans in their 30s hit all-time high. Okay, Shakita, let's go to this clip here quickly. This is from Roland Martin Unfiltered. This is from Friday, August 13th. And we were speaking with Dr. Alexia Gaffney, and we were talking about coronavirus. Okay, let's go to this clip.
All right. Dr. Alexa Gaffney, thanks for coming on today. Question for you. Can you talk about how the mRNA technology is not new, the technology that the Moderna vaccine is based upon, and the other vaccine? Can you talk about how that's not new technology? One of the apprehensions that people have is they say that the vaccine was rushed. Now, I think Trump naming it Warp Speed, the whole project Warp Speed, I don't think that helped anything.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? And also with the Delta variant, why is the transmissibility so much more higher than with the coronavirus strains we were dealing with in 2020?
Sure. So as far as the production of these vaccines, remember, COVID-19 is SARS-2 coronavirus, and there was SARS-1 that happened well over a decade ago. And SARS-1 was not as transmissible, but much more deadly than COVID-19 even. And so they have been working on vaccines back then. So that didn't become a pandemic. So that epidemic sort of petered out over time. And so that was kind of shelved technology that they pulled back out because they recognized that, listen, we have these mRNA vaccines, or we have this mRNA technology that we can utilize, and all we have to do is get the genetic code for the COVID-19 virus, the SARS-CoV-2, and apply that genetic code to this mRNA-based technology that we've had in the works for decades, and we can utilize that to make vaccines that would be effective to fighting the virus that causes COVID-19, SARS coronavirus 2 or SARS-CoV-2. So this is not new technology. This is technology that has been in place and has been used for other modalities as well, like cancer treatments and therapeutics. So we are just using old technology, or we basically have just taught an old dog new tricks in terms of application of this type of research and this type of vaccine technology to a new a new infection. And the beautiful thing about mRNA vaccines is that you can produce them very quickly. Unlike a flu vaccine where you're essentially growing a viral culture, that can take months, almost a year to produce a vaccine. So because the technology allows for quicker production of the vaccine, we're better positioned to potentially end this COVID-19 pandemic because we don't run into issues with, the time we need to produce these vaccines. So it's old technology that has been manipulated for a new current situation. So it's not like COVID came on the scene in China in October of 2019 and now all of a sudden the work started. That was work, technology, research that was already being done. And the only reason we were able to bring the vaccine forth is because the rate at which people were getting infected, right? When you had millions of people per day getting infected, you can reach your endpoint of your clinical trial very quickly. It's not like if somebody was trying to make a new measles vaccine, let's say, since measles is always part of the vaccine conversation, right? We see measles cases so infrequently, it would take you years to figure out if your new measles vaccine was effective because you don't really see cases that often. So you don't reach a clinical endpoint as quickly as you do when literally millions of people around the world are being diagnosed with the infection you're trying to prevent with your vaccine. So a lot of healthcare dollars, a lot of federal dollars, a lot of dollars worldwide were thrown at this research, which funding is often an issue. You had multiple parties involved. And people need to remember, not every vaccine that was researched was brought to market, right? They started with over 150 vaccine candidates that list dwindled down to 26 or 28. Then we had a top 7 contenders, and here in the United States, we have 3 of those 7 available to us. There are other vaccine candidates that are available in other parts of the world that the CDC and the FDA said, you know what, that's not for us. We're going to stick with these 3, and we'll continue to see how it goes. And to me, that's very promising and very reassuring. So I want people to remember that not every vaccine candidate that was researched came to human clinical trials. Some of them were weeded out before then, and not every vaccine was determined to be safe and effective for use. So the 3 that we're using are what was determined to be most suitable for use in American people. And, this is based on old as well as new vaccine research data.
Right. Okay, pause it right there, Shakita. Okay, so that was Dr. Alexia Gaffney Adams. She is actually a medical doctor. Unlike a lot of dumbasses you see on social media, don't know what the hell they're talking about, just trying to get clicks and likes and whatever else. She is a general infectious disease doctor. She actually went to medical school. Go watch. We're going to post a link here to that entire show because that's just an excerpt of the interview we did with this sister on Roland Martin Unfiltered. That's from Friday, August 13th, 2021. And we'll post the link here. You can watch that on YouTube, Roland Martin on YouTube, and Roland Martin on Facebook also. Let me see. We got that link here for the entire show. I'm going to post this here. Yeah. That was FDA. Okay. Yeah, that's from the August 13th edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered. So it was an excellent interview we did with her. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting for a couple more minutes. We'll squeeze in this information dealing with Haiti. And I want to go back to the story dealing with the students in Atlanta. Register for the new 10-week online course I teach on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com and register there. Also, I will have a vendor booth in Peck Park at the 38th Annual African World Festival, Friday, August 20th through Sunday, August 22nd. We'll post updates on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. I'll be in the Peck Park area of the African World Festival at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. All right, stand by. Okay, we're going to keep going for a couple more minutes. Let me squeeze in this information. I'm going to go back to this story here from Atlanta. Okay. And yeah, those in Detroit area, I'll be at the African World Festival all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll have a vendor booth there. I'll have my DVD lectures. We'll be registering people for my online courses also. And then Detroit Rocks the Runway will be on Friday. It starts at 8:30. We have Piper Carter from Detroit Rocks the Runway fashion show at the African World Festival. We had her on the show yesterday. So go back and watch Sunday's show, Sunday, August 15th show. But I'll have a vendor booth. I'll be out there all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, August 20th through the 22nd. This is at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, the 38th annual African World Festival. All right. I want to go back to the story here we talked about at the beginning of the show, and then we're going to get this information in on Haiti and get out of here because I had to teach a class today. 2 weeks after opening, Atlanta schools report 4,000 COVID-19 cases. So schools opened in Atlanta metro area on August 2nd. Now, just 2 weeks later, the number of COVID-19 cases among students and faculty has exploded to nearly 4,000 cases. Okay, now this isn't 4,000 students that have to be quarantined because like 20 people got COVID-19. This is 4,000 cases, nearly 4,000 cases of COVID-19. There's a difference because see, in Florida, they had to send home hundreds of students and things like that because to be quarantined, but everybody didn't have COVID. Here, these are cases of COVID. Now, the startling numbers gathered by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution show just how rapidly the virus is spreading in the state. But it don't spread as much as stupidity, though. Stupidity is a bigger virus. Stupidity spreads faster than the Delta variant, okay? Okay, stupidity is about as fast as Sha'Carri Richardson, all right? That's how fast stupidity is. And administrators are quickly rethinking their plans with 10 districts suspending in-person learning already. Now, this is just me, okay? This is if you don't have mask mandates in in-person schools, why would you open the school back up and coronavirus cases are surging in like 48, 49 states? If you're not going to have mask mandates, why the hell would you open the schools back up? That don't make sense to me. I'm sorry. You know, I don't have a master's in education. I'm not a doctor, but I'm like, wait a second, hold on. Coronavirus cases are surging all across the country. You're dealing with the Delta variant, which the transmissibility is much greater. It transmits much easier, and it's infecting children. With that being the case, if you're not going to mandate masks, why would you send the children? Why would you open the schools back up to children? I mean, you're just asking for trouble. So the change has come so fast that some teachers aren't conducting live online classes, instead only posting assignments for children to complete. Now, statewide, 1.7 million students attend public schools in Georgia. Now, despite the growing numbers, many parents in affected districts are so dumb that they're voicing opposition to mask requirements for school children. I wonder who they voted for president. I'm just curious. Defying a growing national trend. Okay, I wonder how many of them watch Fox News all day and OAN and Newsmax. Now, Fulton County, where Atlanta is located, is making masks optional, but Atlanta public schools are requiring masks. Now, the suburbs, Atlanta public schools, so that makes sense because Atlanta's where a lot of African Americans are, and they're like, look, we ain't trying to die now. Okay, we want to. That makes sense to wear mask mandates. to have mass mandates. Now, the suburbs of Decatur, Clayton County, DeKalb County, Douglas County, Gwinnett County, and Henry County also are requiring masks. Henry County switched to a mandate only last week. It reported 822 individuals in quarantine on Monday. Now, at least 2 districts in the area have delayed the start of school, of the school year. That makes sense to me. And some, such as Ware County, W-A-R-E, Ware County, have suspended class operations entirely as a result of the high number of cases. Students are not expected to return there until September 7th. Okay, now, because it makes sense to have classes online, at least till, you get this under control. And when you got an idiotic governor like Brian Kemp, come on. This is the guy. Come on. The CDC's headquarters is down the street from Brian Kemp's office, and he's this stupid. The CDC is headquartered in Atlanta. It's down the street from Brian Kemp's office. From Brian Kemp's office. You remember when last year when Brian Kemp said, when they found out, what did he say? He said they found out that it could be transmitted. I can't remember if he said through the air or something like that. He said it was a game changer. It's like, dude, the CDC, their headquarters is down the street from you, and you don't know this. Many other school districts, which previously said they would not post data on COVID cases or offer contact tracing, has since reversed their policies. So you had some school districts that said, we're not going to do contact tracing. So it's like, if Johnny gets COVID, we ain't going to call the other kids' parents and say, look, Johnny got COVID. You need to quarantine. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do contact tracing. It's like, what do you think is going to happen? Georgia has been a hotbed for COVID-19 in recent weeks. You think? The state's 7-day rolling average topped 6,000 on Friday, the worst it has been since February 1st. Okay, Georgia has been a hotbed. See, now let's just back up for a minute. In 2018, when Stacey Abrams was running for governor, you had some African Americans in Georgia who said they were not going to vote for Stacey Abrams because Stacey Abrams didn't have a black agenda. I talked to some of them on my Facebook page. But your dumb ass let Brian Kemp get elected, and Brian Kemp has an anti-black agenda. So how'd that work out for you? And then Brian Kemp signed SB 202 into law. Okay, Senate Bill 202, the voter restriction bill. Brian Kemp has an anti-black agenda. Like I said before, policies don't have to say black or African American to benefit you or to harm you. This is why you have to look at this is why you have to look at the candidates' platforms. You have to look at their policies. You also have to look at their judgment. Stacey Abrams is much smarter than Brian Kemp. Now, that's not saying anything. Brian Kemp is dumb as a bag of rocks. But when you have somebody who's an idiot like that as governor, that's dangerous. You're going to get people killed. Georgia has been a hotbed for COVID-19 in recent weeks. The state's 7-day rolling average topped 6,000 on Friday. That's for new cases. The worst it has been since February 1st, 2021. More than 4,200 people have been hospitalized, with healthcare officials warning they are running low on beds and staff. Not just beds, they're running low on staff. People act like the staff at hospitals like don't get tired, don't get sick, don't suffer from PTSD, don't have breakdowns. They just keep running like the Energizer Bunny or something like that. So in Georgia, there more than 4,200 people have been hospitalized, with healthcare officials warning they are running low on beds and staff. More than 87% of the state's ICU beds are in use, and over 40 hospitals statewide are turning away patients. Now, there was a segment when we were talking to Dr. Alexia Gaffney on Friday, Roland Martin Unfiltered. There was a clip that Roland was at a funeral, okay, for his aunt, and Amisha, the sister, who's on, she does news in Michigan. I forgot which city she's in, but she was sitting there for Roland. She played this clip of this guy who was talking about how his wife had to be discharged from the hospital, and his wife, she was in the hospital for something. It wasn't for COVID, but his wife had to be discharged from the hospital to open up beds for COVID patients coming in. And he was saying the question, he was asking the question, he was saying, look, if you don't want to take the vaccine, okay, well, that's on you. But why you go to the hospital for treatment if you don't want the vaccine? If you don't want to take the vaccine, then you get COVID. Why are you going to the hospital for treatment? He's like, he's saying like, okay, if you don't trust the vaccine, then why are you going to the doctor to get treatment for COVID? Just keep your ass at home. Because now, because you didn't want to, especially people who didn't wear masks. Now, I'm not talking about people who, I'm talking about children who can't get the vaccine. I'm not talking about people who, because I have a friend who, she has allergic reactions to medication, so she can't take the vaccine. I'm not talking about that, okay? But it's like, wait a second. If you don't want to get the vaccine because you don't trust the science, then why are you going to the doctor when you get sick with COVID? Why don't you just stay at home? Because now you're taking up a bed in the ICU for somebody who really needs it. So more than 87% of the state's ICU beds of Georgia are in use, and over 40 hospitals statewide are turning away patients. Governor Brian Kemp has resisted calls to mandate vaccines or masks because he's an idiot. Governor Brian Kemp gonna get a lot of people killed. I'm just telling you right now. He's a dumbass. This is what happens when you let an idiot who's against science, who's a Trump supporter, okay? This is what happens when he becomes governor. Read the rest of this article here. 2 weeks after opening, Atlanta schools report 4,000 COVID-19 cases. August 16, 2021, Forbes.com. We'll post the link here. All right, lastly, let's just do this quick update on Haiti, and then we've got to get out of here. So there's a piece here from, there was one from, where was this? There was one from Washington Post. So we're at over 1,400 people who have been killed by the 7.2 magnitude earthquake. There were 15 aftershocks, at least 15 aftershocks also. We talked about this on yesterday's show. Aid workers scramble to save Haiti earthquake victims as storm barrels in. Rescue workers and doctors with little equipment worked feverishly Monday to save victims of the massive earthquake in southwestern Haiti as a powerful storm, Tropical Storm Grace, threatened to unleash flooding and further snarl aid efforts. Heavy rain started dousing the country on Monday afternoon, creating yet another crisis for exhausted, newly homeless people who needed shelter. Officials estimated that Tropical Depression Grace would dump 5 to 10 inches of rain on the region by Tuesday. The U.S. National Hurricane Center warned that Tropical Storm Grace, while downgraded from a tropical storm, could still cause flash flooding and mudslides in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. We're pleading for help, Marie-Helene La Esperance, mayor of the harbor town of Pastel, told Haiti's Pacific Radio. Every house was destroyed. There's nowhere to live. We need shelters, medical help, and especially water. We've had nothing for 3 days, and injured victims are starting to die. Now, I want to go to this clip here from NBC Nightly News. Let me cue this up here because we ran out of time on 9:10 a.m. The Superstation WFDF. We had it queued up there. Haiti hit by a serious storm after deadly earthquake. So just give me a second here. Let me cue this one up. Okay, an urgent relief effort is underway after a powerful 7.2 magnitude earthquake hit Haiti about 5 hours south of Port-au-Prince. The Haitian government says more than 1,400 people were killed and thousands were injured. Now Tropical Depression Grace is drenching the region and raising concerns. Okay, we're going to go to this clip here in just a second. All right.
This is Lake High, the largest town to bear the brunt of southwestern Haiti tonight, mangled misery. This is Lake High, the largest town to bear the brunt of Saturday's monstrous earthquake.
This used to be a massive 5-story hotel. An untold number of people died here, and right now the search and rescue mission is over, and a demolition is underway.
The 7.2 magnitude quake was more powerful than the 2010 catastrophe that killed an estimated 250,000 people. But this one hit a much less populated area, about 5 hours south of Port-au-Prince. Still, the Haitian government says more than 1,400 people are dead. At least 6,000 are injured, many crushed by collapsing buildings. So many families displaced, with more than 37,000 homes damaged or destroyed. And now, as Tropical Depression Grace drenches Haiti, concerns about new mudslides, with so many communities already cut off.
This is near the earthquake's epicenter, and people here are desperate. This hospital is overwhelmed, and they've set up beds outside with men, women, and children hooked up to IVs under the hot sun. Some of them are still searching for family members days after the quake.
The children are perhaps most striking, their anguish matched only by their parents' confusion. Patience is thin here, and so are the medical supplies. This woman cries as she tells us her daughter's in pain next to her, and rescuers pulled her grandson from the rubble alive. This man with a broken arm hopes he's evacuated to Port-au-Prince. The U.S. Coast Guard is helping with that, a constant flow of the injured in agony, but out of the epicenter. Magali Noel Dresse says her cousin's home collapsed and killed her. Today she waited to evacuate her uncle. This region's future uncertain.
I know it's going to be very tough, and we have to stay strong because we have a reason to build.
Even days after the quake, the locals here are still living outside of any structure that's still standing for fear of aftershocks. Authorities are still assessing the scope of this disaster.
Okay, so that's NBC Nightly News, August 16th, 2021. And if we look at the live updates here from the New York Times, I see they updated it. Search for survivors after quake kills nearly 1,300. The 7.2 magnitude earthquake was a devastating blow to a country still reeling from a presidential assassination. A tropical depression is expected to batter the island starting Monday. And let's see, bracing. All right, nearly 1,300 dead after Haiti earthquake, and the country is bracing for a tropical depression. Okay, so there's a brief update they have to this also. They updated it August 16th. Okay, so check out the updates from New York Times as well. Now, U.S. sends search and rescue team to Haiti to help search for survivors. The United States has sent a specialized search and rescue team to Haiti to help extricate any survivors from the quake rubble, an indication that Haiti is poorly equipped for such an operation and that many trapped victims may still be alive. The United States Agency for International Development, the main provider of American Foreign Aid said Sunday that the team was dispatched in response to a request from the Haitian government. The team from the Fairfax County Fire and Rescue Department in Fairfax, Virginia, is composed of 65 emergency responders and 4 dogs. It was carrying 52,000 pounds of specialized tools and equipment, including hydraulic machines that can break through concrete slabs, as well as drills and torches and emergency gear. Okay, so check out these updates here. So they have information here. Here's what to know about the Haiti earthquake. Also, briefly what happened: a 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck Haiti on Saturday, August 15th. Saturday morning, August 15th. It was stronger than the 7.0 magnitude earthquake that devastated the country in 2010. The United States Geological Survey said the quake struck 5 miles from the town of Petit Trop-de-Nips in the western part of the country, about 80 miles west of Port-au-Prince, the capital. Seismologists said it had a depth of 7 miles. It was felt as far away as Jamaica, 200 miles away. Okay, the earthquake was felt as far away as Jamaica, 200 miles away. Now, the U.S. Tsunami Warning Center reported a tsunami threat because of Saturday's earthquake, but later rescinded it. Okay. And they show a map here also. Let's see here. Haiti surgeons operate with minimal supplies and patients recover in the parking lot. Okay, so read the rest of this here. Check this out. Check out the updates from Washington Post and New York Times. This information, NBC News as well, but New York Times, Washington Post has better updates. Also, Miami Herald has some good updates. I've been looking at the updates. I'm subscribing to the Miami Herald as well. I guess I'm going to pay them some money also to actually be able to access everything. I just renewed my subscription to Britannica.com, Encyclopedia Britannica, because I use information, some of the information when I teach my online courses, and I use Encyclopedia Britannica for research. So I just started paying them yesterday. I guess I'm going to pay Miami Herald some money also. All right. Hey, if you like this type of information and you want to support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me /the AHN Show, paypal.me /the AHN Show. Also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We're here 6 days a week. So just keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, finance the show, pay some of the bills, etc. Also register for, so this is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN Show, SHOW. And when you go to it, it shows my name, Michael, and shows my picture there. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. I did not set these up. I don't know who set them up. That's not me. I've already reported them to Cash App. I'm trying to get them shut down. You can still register for the 10-week online course, the new one I teach on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement of Black Power, 1865 to 1968. As soon as you register, you can watch classes 1 through 4. We just did the classes past Saturday. And we do a history after the Civil War ended and throughout the Civil Rights Movement and into the Black Power Movement, Jim Crow era, World War I, World War II, etc. All right, so visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and we'll post a link here also for that. All right, look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. And also, I'll see you all at the African World Festival in Detroit, Friday, August 20th through Sunday, August 22nd at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. I'll have a vendor booth there. I'll be in the Peck Park area of, I think it's down the street from Brush. But everything's outdoors. Everything's outside this year. And I'll have a vendor booth in the Peck Park area. We'll have updates at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, talk to you later. Peace.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our story, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30+ channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe